is 13 hours 35 in Guyana, and you're listening to Kaiju Radio. It is time for COVID-19 and Elections Watch this afternoon. At the helm of the program, as usual, we have senior journalist of Kaiju News, Leonard Gildarie, alongside his co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, dear Kevin Smith. Good afternoon, people all across Guyana, wherever you're joining us from here on Kaiju Radio 99.1, 99.5. And you could also get us on Kaiju Radio Facebook, Kaiju Radio YouTube. And if you go to our website, Kaiju News Online, you could be able to get us there, and on, I think, the Tuna app as well. So I want to say good day to you. Yogi, if you're joining us now, I must tell you that you're going to be very unhappy today. I just had something, and I know that you always post the food that you have, not the unhappiness of the staffers down at Kaiju News here. All the nice pictures and everything, and you never send anything down this way. I had dal and rice, and fried fish, and kalaloo with shrimps, and achar. Good Guyanese food. We have a lot of things to be happy with. So I want to say good day there to my co-host, and I want to say I still love you, my brother, and I hoping that we could get some very interesting thing today. I want to say also that Kaiju Radio, we have our lines are going to be open. We want to hear from you, people. We've been hearing from you. We want to hear from you from all over the country today. Let me see. We have people calling us from Lake Mainstay area there, the Wayaka area. We have people right across from the Pomeroon has been coming on to us there all along East Coast. Region 5, Barbies, everybody's been calling on as far as Crabwood Creek. So I want to say hello and welcome. And of course, in the capital city of Georgetown here, it's a little humid out there. The weather seems to be holding, but the weather seems to be holding while it's day 93, since elections on March the 2nd. And we seem to be grounding very slowly towards just over 400 box remaining to be counted in the national recount that is ongoing at the Artichon Convention Center. It's also day 29 of the recount. So we have 93 days since the elections on March the 2nd. These are not figures that we like, but we have to say it here so we could keep in check with ourselves when it comes to knowing where we are and where we want to be as a country. This is a place that we should never, ever think that we want to be here again. A good day to you, Yog. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. I must say I am happy that we continue with the recount. All indications are that even though there seems to have been yesterday seemed to have been a much slower day than the day before, at least the recount is ongoing, and we are hoping that it will be ongoing. By this weekend, that's it. By this weekend, if we continue the way we are going, everybody would know how these elections could be declared or would be declared. A couple of things we need to keep in mind, Leonard. I'm laser focused on these elections at this stage. A couple of things to keep in mind is, number one, the recount is ongoing, and the number of observations continue to be raised on a daily basis. So we'll discuss that. Number two, the rhetoric from various political parties, and in particular the APNO AFC, has also taken some very, very strange twists and turns. And as of yesterday, I think Ms. Lawrence is on record, I have the video here, is on record making certain allegations that I believe is preposterous. I cannot find another word to describe it. Number three, I'm happy you have seen it, Leonard, and I'm happy to share with everybody that interview we had with Sir Ron Saunders, that has captured international attention. And indeed, Oil Now has done an article on the interview we had with Sir Ron. Now, that also relates to the elections and having a legitimate government. So, Leonard, we have lots of things to talk about.
Absolutely. And you know that starting with Mr. James, the former PM from James Mitchell, the former PM from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Then we had Sir Ron, and last evening, of course, our own countryman again, just like Sir Ron, Oren Gordon, very proud of that man. He is the editor-in-chief of the Trinidad Guardian, very well-respected newspaper over there in that Twin Island Republic. And why should I be proud? He is a accomplished man. He has been around for a long time in the media business, over 2 decades. He has been the editor-in-chief, one of the youngest at the Guyana Broadcasting Corporation. Back it was in the day when there was no television. These were the people who were shaping things, who were shaping the minds. Television had just broken into Guyana in a big way. So they were still very much around, and he has been a correspondent with the BBC as well. So when you have somebody like that sitting, a Guyanese person, very solid, very quiet, very focused, talking with issues.
With regional and international experience. And sorry to interject, I'm really sorry about this. But it was educational to listen to our brother Oren Gordon last night, joining us on the show from Trinidad. And Oren said clearly, I will make statements based on my ability to think logically, not emotionally. He said, I will use my brain to make statements, and I will use my education that Burnham gave me to make. He did not disguise it. He studied. He was given a scholarship under the Burnham administration. He's Guyanese. And here is a gentleman who was served on many platforms across the region, including to our listeners and viewers who are accounting inclined. Oren Gordon served the ACCA, the regional ACCA body as well. So the gentleman was quite outspoken. And Leonard, he was very open talking about the illogical happenstances during these elections. And he basically said, AFC has to admit, you lost. Pack it up and move on. Go for the next election.
Absolutely there, Yog. And at the ending part, the last 2 minutes or so thereabouts, he made some statements, and you were pointing it out too. He didn't spare any criticisms when it comes to the political situation in Guyana. In fact, while he would have criticized in his very subtle way what is happening to the coalition, he would have also said we have one of the most unready, I can't remember if that's the exact word, presidential candidate in their finale. So he went on both ways. Now, these are the conversations, regardless which side of the fence.
But he expressed his opinion on the two main parties that were participating in these elections. But he concluded saying, whoever won, let them be allowed to form the next government. Why are we having, Leonard, it's amazing. 94 days. We don't have a result. We now know this, that it's going to be 106 days before we have a result. Now, one can only surmise what will happen over the next week. From tomorrow to next week, this time is probably the most important period in Guyanese history. And I think we need to continue to have people like Oren Gordon and Sir Ron, because not only were they very open about their ideas, but they were very mature in the way they were expressing it.
So Ron in himself, he has a lot of experience. He has a lot of regional experience. He has a lot of experience in the world of trade because of the position that he would have sitting in, ambassador, plenipotentiary, those kind of things. That's not an ordinary kind of post that he would have had a Guyanese sitting in the Caribbean and having a bird's eye view on the situation, being very close to not only CARICOM, but also the Organization of American States. And you remember the OAS would have sent an observers team to Guyana. So there is that situation, that education process that would have come from one of Guyana's very best, although he's not living here. We could say that our people abroad do happen to have this country in their best interest. Also, they are looking on, paying attention, and we need it. Yoga. We have basically some people would criticize and say we are in the Stone Age as compared to the development that is happening in the Caribbean. You look to Trinidad and some other places where you might see some high rises in the Caribbean, while in Guyana we have basically not been in that development phase as yet, modernized if you want to use that word. However, I believe in my heart the pace is what would have saved Guyana, because when you would have looked at what happened to Trinidad, yes, they will recover. They happen to have some kind of infrastructure, the systems in place to be able to have them pull out of that. However, it might not be as quickly as Guyana, which has taken a beating over the years. The people are resilient, and the people, I believe, because of how diversified our economy is, the people farming, so they're not too worried about what is happening down in Georgetown. Of course, it impacts them, but at the end of the day, we have those people and we can call on them. So Ron and the gentleman Oren Gordon last night, the editor-in-chief of the Trinidad Guardian newspaper, very well respected, sharing with us. Well, let's get straight into it, Yog. Our front page here at Kaichur News today is filled with pictures and headlines, and the first one is coming from a former war leaders group. This was a group that was, I think, was formed that had membership such as Mr. Nelson Mandela, former African leader. They would have issued a statement which is basically calling for Guyana to swear in a legitimate government based on the recount results, and that is interesting. These are not ordinary people. These are former war leaders paying attention. They don't want any country that is going to be a pirate country, that is going to be an illegal country, or illegal government in a country that is going to, as important as Guyana, to be part of the situation. Is not going to look good in any case. They'd have to take actions as responsible countries to ensure that we don't walk that road. Harmon sends 3 more lists to GCOM chair. Yog, to go back to what you would have said earlier, this headline, this story here is very important. It's an indication, it's a signal that the coalition is getting ready to make its case in a very strong way to the Guyana Elections Commission, as well to the world that is watching, the Guyanese people, that look, we believe in our hearts that something went wrong with these elections. Yes, of course, we'd have to marry that with that statement from the police yesterday. The police would have issued a statement which basically says it stands by the list of 172 names that it would have sent out that was not in the country for elections day. The problem with that is that several persons have come out now and says, but we were in the country, so there are questions being asked about the information with regards to immigration that the police have in their possession. And we know there's a special department now. The immigration is a special department that falls under the Ministry of the Presidency. It's no longer under the police. However, the police would have some kind of jurisdiction, and they would have written, because they were written to by GCOM chair, Justice Claudette Singh, for this information. Yog, what are we seeing here?
We're seeing an absolute slide of any respect that would have been building up over the last 4 years of persons in government and of the police department. Leonard, undeniably, in those lists, you got persons who are turning up, and then the police says, if you're here, or if you voted, you traveled illegally. How would a person travel illegally just to come and vote? We will discuss that later. But as of this morning, we know that more persons, in addition to the 3 that Kemal King would have exposed yesterday, there are more persons that showed up to say that this is untrue, this list, or the police saying they're standing by their list, needs further examination. There is one weird, peculiar one that we will pass on to Kemal, of course. But there is another person that, in terms of the list, I think the name is one Miss Bacchus. I'm not going to say the name out totally here, but one Miss Bacchus, who is a staff member of one of the teams associated at the GCOM Center there, that is being told that is part of the 172 names. So it's ridiculous. You know, somebody needs to answer. And I think I say this with humility, Leonard. I say this with great concern that the police commissioner, in issuing that statement last night, without even re-looking at his list, whether there was a potential for any error, human and otherwise, he has basically played a political card. And that, I believe, is a sad state of affairs. I believe he fell into a trap. And as a senior member of the police force, as the head, he ought to have known better.
Well, let's assume that his people sent him that information. My biggest concern at this point in time, of course, with all the other concerns that would be raised as to the actual information that was sent, is what kind of control mechanisms do they have within immigration there? Because I can't understand why I'm raising that. There was a name that cropped up that I saw yesterday. There was some laughter about it, but it's very serious in the entire implications. A gentleman by the name of Devendra Kissoon. Devendra Kissoon is a very prominent lawyer in Guyana. I think in fact, he has his own law firm, London Chambers. And he was an observer for ANCHAM, the American Chamber of Commerce, of which he's part of, or he would have helped. Any case, on elections day, and we have photographs, and this is a funny thing, he is one in the name that was out of the country. But he was there in elections day. So these are
and I
very
want
prominent.
to take you back. I want to take you back to a statement that Mr. Ganesh Mahipal made to the media. And I think Mr. Leno Craig would have doubled down on it when they said that before they raise any of these, before they call out any of these serial numbers in the Artichoke Convention Recount Center, their field agents would have done massive amount of work across the country, would have gotten the reports of people, neighbors and friends who were concerned to say these people were not in the country and they cannot have voted. And so it just throws out the window those statements, doesn't it? Because here you're having people who are prominent members of, who are visible people in society, that you can see them every day. Who told you? Which one of your field agents? Now, are you now going to say, well, your field agents probably was paid by Mercury too? Because, you know, the conspiracy theory is just going to get worse and worse as we go by.
Absolutely, Yoga. And so, while on the issue of elections as well, and I am putting myself in the supporters of the coalition here, Yog. They're being told that they won the elections. The PPP are also saying that to their people. Here the issue is, when you see these evidence or what is coming out from the figures of the recount, and we look back at Kaiser News today, Mingo added 300 votes to APNO AFC and subtracted 50 from the PPPC and 7 more East Bank ballot boxes. Here the issue is we are in Region 4, which was the region, or the District 4, which was the area on the contention that would have sparked this recount that we're seeing right now. The issue that you have with that is that moving forward, there's more and more emergent evidence that the figures that came out of Mengo declarations were not the right figures. In fact, they were inflated upwards, and therefore the recount is showing that very glaringly. Now, if you are a coalition supporter, what would you say at this point in time? Because these are the questions that are going to come out. It doesn't look good.
And Leonard, hold on a minute. How is it that the same party, APNO AFC, that is raising 100,000 observations, allegations at the Artichoke Convention Center, how is it they have not raised one objection of the Mingo figures that were clearly non-existent, clearly fraudulent? Where did Mingo's fabricators, because obviously couple of them give Mingo those numbers to read out. So they obviously, I'll tell you, I believe they obviously had a list of fabricated numbers and fabricated names and fabricated addresses that they used to build up Mingo's numbers that now they're using in the reverse way. Until they can answer, where did you, let's come to Miss Lawrence. Miss Lawrence signed as a witness to Mingo's declaration. The public knows that. Where did Miss Lawrence get those numbers from that she signed on as a witness? How can she accept those numbers, and why didn't she question Mingo's numbers that are obviously inflated? If you had no moral ground, if you have no ground upon which you could have questioned Mingo, you have no moral ground to now question anything else. Your morality was lost on March the 3rd, full stop.
I do thank you for that. And there's that other big story that's coming out now. NGSA exams. NGSA exams, there's a National Grade 6 exams set for July the 1st and the 2nd. There seems to be some unhappiness that is raising its head, especially from the parent side, concerned people about the readiness. It's just 4 weeks away, Yog. And so we telling after a couple of weeks, I think this should have been like about 6 weeks, that these people would have been given in terms of the notice. But we're going to come back and we're going to deal with that. We have with us here, Yog, that is joining us for the Georgetown Public Hospital. And I'm going to bring her on here, and then I'm going to give you that introduction here. But we have Leslyn Holder of the Georgetown Public Hospital, and we're going to take her via Zoom. And so let us bring her on. She's on here. How are you doing, Miss Holder?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm well, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, dear. So she's a GPHC. I'm here with Dr. Yog Mahadeo on elections and COVID-19 watch. And Leslyn Holder is the GPHC, Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, Quality Assurance Manager. Now, that's a very couple big words there. What does it really mean? And that is where Leslyn Holder is going to come right into it and tell us what is it that she does there and why is it important to the people of Guyana. Leslyn, you're on the air.
Okay, hi. Okay, thank you for that. Can you permit me to just say a huge thank you to Georgetown Hospital to start. We have been working tirelessly since the beginning of this year to ensure that our services are what it should be in readiness for COVID. We had our frontline workers, our nurses, our doctors, all services, all departments really very, very busy. I can tell you we are still very busy. So I just wanted to shout out to them, let them know that we appreciate what they do every day on the front line, that they should just keep up the good work.
Have you, so when we talk quality, what exactly does that mean?
Okay, so quality improvement and assurance from a hospital perspective is simple. It is about improving all services, and the assurance part is ensuring that those services are to the standards, and we continue to improve those standards as we go.
So we want to apologize.
Some technical things.
Yes, we want to apologize a little for the a little of the song there. Very little we could do with that. Yes, go ahead, Leslyn.
Yes. The Quality Improvement Department, we have 5 arms within the hospital. So we're responsible for infection control and prevention, and that alone speaks of prevention of the spread of infection and prevention of the spread of COVID. We also have occupational safety and health under our review. We have data collection, so we collect information that we analyze, and then we look to see how we can improve services using that information. We also have customer services where we deal with some like grievances, and we also carry out patient satisfaction surveys that we also use to improve services. Nothing is better than the voice of the patient, to tell us how we should improve our services. So that's basically what we do in our department.
So here the issue is we're in the pandemic stage here now, COVID-19, and of course people would have been complaining. What are some of the biggest complaints that people are putting on the table now?
I think both for staff and the public, the uncertainty of COVID, of what COVID really is in itself as a disease or as a condition that would affect people physically. People want to know that we can actually give them the service in terms of care, ensuring that they're looked after and ensuring that they get better and the outcome for them is good.
Yes, absolutely. And so go ahead.
Yeah. So those were some of the issues that would often arise. We at GPHC we have to what's the word? We have to tweak some things that we do in terms of like hand washing facilities and implementing the wear mask protocol and so on. Persons needed education on that. Would you believe? I do believe from now we will all be washing our hands, which should be a practice anyway. But because of COVID-19, we have been able to pinpoint the actual reason, the necessity for hand washing. Hand washing should be a part of daily life in general, whether you're a medical person or you're just a housewife or somebody working in the shops. It should not be something that we take lightly. But I do think that after now, persons will see the need to continue the practice. So those were some of the fears persons have, what do I need to wash my hands with? Why do I need to wash my hands so often? Wearing a mask, how do I know that the mask I wear is going to give me the protection I need? So often we would have to answer those questions for persons.
Now, one of the biggest thing, before I hand you over straight to you, one of the biggest thing that you would see, because you would have to put the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation would have had to put a lot of resources into COVID-19. How has that impacted on the other areas? Because people are falling sick for other things. People have to be treated for other areas, other sicknesses, and so on. How has COVID-19 impacted on the other areas?
Okay. So because we're a hospital, the rest of the hospital still has to function as a hospital. We still have to provide the services that we are providing, but we have the ways and protocols of doing that efficiently and effectively, meaning keeping persons who aren't here for COVID-19 reasons safe. So we implemented additional services. We reduced the numbers of persons coming to visits. We reduced some of the number of persons just coming to clinic. If doctors can reach out to those patients via the telephone and things like that. We had to tweak a lot of those services in trying to reduce the exposure, meaning having less persons attend the hospital on a daily basis.
All right, so we take a couple minutes break here. We come back right back with you. We have to. So just in a moment, we'll be back with Kaicho Radio. Thank you very much.
Tropical delight, the flavor tasting right, pure taste and pure Stay in the know with Kaicho Radio. Join us daily Monday to Friday at 13 hours 30 for COVID-19 and Elections Watch with senior journalist Leonard Gildarie and Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Join us as they keep you updated on the latest news on elections 2020 and the COVID-19. COVID-19 and Elections Watch only on Kaicho Radio. Kaicho Radio, the radio with a difference. Hey kids, are you home and don't know what to do? Then Kaicho Radio has got you covered. Join us every day, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. for a special edition of Kids Zone. We will bring to you exciting facts and science, mammals, birds, sharks, you name it, we've got it. We've even got fun and craft activities for you to do right at home. Not forgetting our maths and English segments to keep you up top of the game. Listen to stories and poems read by fellow kids. And if you would like to be a part of this program, then have your parents contact us on 622-2222 or email us at kaichoradio@gmail.com. Kids Zone, only on Kaicho Radio 99.1, 99.5 FM. The radio with a difference.
Yes, good afternoon. Welcome once again to the special edition of the Elections and COVID-19 Watch. You're joining us here, myself, Leonard Gildarie, and of course, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. And we have with us today, we want to hear what has happened in the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. And we have with us no other than Leslyn Holder, and she is GPHC's Quality Assurance Manager. How are you doing, Leslyn?
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. I'm
Yes.
okay.
Thank you
How are
very much. Right. So we came back with you because we wanted to ensure that we get you a little clearer. Let's get right into it. So we were talking about what GPHC would have been experiencing. You're sharing resources, a lot of resources going into COVID-19 because of that's a very serious situation there. And I was asking you about what kind of impact this would have had on the other areas. The people are being sick because of diabetes and other heart conditions and the normal cases that comes in. And you were saying, go right ahead.
Yes. So what we did. Initially, we have a task force. We have a GPHC COVID-19 task force. So we got together, which I'm a part of, and we developed protocols, because we recognize the need to continue the services of the hospital. We're a hospital. We have to remain functioning as a hospital. We recognize the need to do something different. So that is why we have to get together and plan and have new protocols and so on in place. So we would have looked at, like, for example, our diabetic clinic. You mentioned diabetic patients. We looked at the clinic, the services that are not really emergency services. We look to see how we can work along with those clinics to ensure that persons are still being attended to, whether it is by the doctors calling patients up via the telephone, finding out how they're doing, if there's just a need to renew medication, prescriptions and so on, that is done without having to bring the person into hospital, exposing them. Apart from that, we have created a 4-point entry into the hospital, where we are seeing patients coming in, whether you're coming as a patient or a visitor. But once you come to the hospital, then you go through a triage system. Now, first you go through a screening system. If you're only a visitor or you're going to the clinic, you're given a badge or a handband to wear, and you enter to do whatever business you're here to do. For our COVID patients, we have two specific triage areas that would fast track you through so that you can be properly triaged, and whatever service is needed for you if you're sick and suspected COVID, that we're able to bring you into the system and into whichever service you need. So there was a lot of protocols that we need to have and tweak and look at and invented new ones as well, and especially after we set up the COVID-19 ICU where we would house patients. Apart from that, we reduced the number of visitors coming to the hospital. We reduced the number of visiting times so that persons aren't here in large numbers and exposed on several, visits. Some people like to visit. If you have your mother in hospital, you probably would want to visit her twice a day. We try to advise against that and reduce that. Still letting you visit, but in a reduced way and a more controlled way.
Well, the good thing about this, Leslyn, is that over the years, I can remember whenever somebody's sick, it seems to be a whole family excursion headed down to the hospital, and then it is a tradition. But you're right. I couldn't help thinking, and Yog, this is interesting. Leslyn would have been talking there about when you enter in the hospital now, they put on a ban onto your hands, and maybe I'm thinking in my right now going forward. Our entire lifestyles have been changed because of COVID-19. Do you suspect, Leslyn, that this is something that we'd have to live with in terms of these precautions with the rest of our lives in Guyana?
Well, I do believe that for a very long time, we would have to maintain some of the services. I do believe that is for sure. Maybe at the end of COVID, who knows when that would be, we will find that those services have improved the way we provide services, and we may very well want to keep a lot of those services. We have other departments that deal with things like we have a management executive, we have a policy committee, which obviously will sit down and deliberate on things to come to those decisions. But as far as I can see, it has worked. We have been able to keep people safe. And one of the best things that I recognize happened, none of our staff became ill or contracted COVID-19 in the process of caring for COVID-19 patients.
And
I
that
think
is that's very good news. Yog, you're hearing some positive things there, as well as the fact that we have to probably live with this for a little while, and it may not be such a bad thing. A good, healthy lifestyle with good practices that is in keeping with international norms. What are some of the things that maybe you're thinking, Yog?
Well,
Go on.
Well, I would like to say, I don't want to say that, our hygiene practices are poor, but, I do believe that a part of health and being healthy is the basic good old hygiene practices. We should wash our hands before we eat, wash our hands when we finish using the toilet, wash our hands, wash a fruit before we eat the fruit. There are so many things that we have had to relearn. It's not anything that we don't know. I just think, our practices got so poor that we were forgetting the important things. So I think COVID-19, although it is such a devastating thing that happened to not only Guyana, to the entire world, I do believe it just brought us back to some of our senses.
Absolutely. Yog?
Hi, Leslyn. My thinking is that COVID, as you rightly intimate, COVID would have some good lessons for health facilities, especially in Guyana, where there is so much public health facilities. And I am wondering whether you guys are thinking of, reconstructing your practice manuals to make changes going to the future. Because as you rightly point out, some of these changes we are making ought to have been there in the first place. And, going to the future, we can, all of us can be so much more careful, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Simple things like the way you what you do with your greens and your vegetables when you take them home from the market vendors. It's how we buy our vegetables. All the vegetables are there on the market stall, and we pick them up. We take them home. We put them in the fridge. Now we're washing them off before we put them in the fridge, which is a good thing. It's a good practice. I mean, those are some of the things that we can do personally as the ordinary man out there. As far as healthcare services are concerned, there is so much that we can do. There are so many things that we find that we can strengthen. We give good service, but there is always room for improvement. And things like these help us to see where the gaps are, where the loopholes are, and help us to make better decisions. Help us to understand, what is it we need to do here to ensure that this is maintained.
Yeah, Leslyn, we are also appreciative of the fact that public health in Guyana, even though your entity there is a corporation on its own, but public health in Guyana is basically dependent largely on the pleasures of government, and the strength of whatever direction you take is invariably sometimes influenced by how your board would think along those similar lines. However, your unique area of quality assurance, what can you tell Guyanese that in terms of quality assurance for GPHC and the service you offer, that your eyes are on the ball and that you are making necessary interventions with the healthcare provisioning within that facility for the general uplift of your service to the public, regardless of politics?
Yeah, okay, so that's a good point. Now, whatever happens at GPHC oftentimes is a knock-on effect of what happens in the community. As a country, we have a 5-tier or maybe now a 6-tier healthcare system where we have the health posts and the health centers, the district hospitals and the regional hospitals until we come to GPHC, which is the National Referral Hospital. Now, I know that government has been strengthening primary care service where persons are able to access service in the community. So, for example, if you live in Eccles, like I live in Eccles, there is a health center there that I can access. I don't need to come to Georgetown Hospital where I have to intermix with everybody, who's here at Georgetown Hospital. I might very well take something back with me from Georgetown Hospital that I shouldn't in the first place. If I have gone to Eccles, the numbers are less there. It might be a safer environment. So we have to learn to utilize our primary healthcare services. As far as GPHC is concerned, since I'm here, I'm a GPHC, I'm a nurse by background. I've been absent from the country for a while, but since I'm back in Guyana, I have seen improvement at hospital, especially.
You're not illegal, are you? Sorry.
Oh, no. Oh, not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. I just thought I would check,
Okay. Yeah, so I do believe that we can continue improving our services. There's always room for improvement. QI per se has, we have a framework that we're working with. We work hand in hand with the Ministry of Health as well to ensure that some of our services, not some of our services, all our services are up to par with international standards. We also have to remember that in doing so, because we're a developing country, isn't it? I think there is so much more work that we need to do. We have to work harder to make things happen. And I would like to see quality improvement, especially impacting on the services we provide at Georgetown Hospital in a more effective and positive way. Me being the manager here at Quality Improvement, I have personally looked at our systems, looked to see what we do, looked to see where the gaps are and how we can improve those services. And I can tell you over the last year or so, we have done immense work at GPHC.
So if you're now joining us, this is a special edition of the Elections and COVID-19 Watch, speaking with Leslyn Hall, the GPHC's Quality Assurance Manager. So if you walk in or you go to GPHC and you have a problem, I think you should go search for Leslyn, and Leslyn is willing to take you. In fact, she is insistent that you go to the hospital, and if you have a problem, that you go to her department and let her know, because GPHC is paying very close attention. Leslyn, in wrapping up very quickly, what do you have to say to Guyanese people in terms of not only protection and safety, but where GPHC is concerned in raising the standards, raising the bar in terms of healthcare?
Yeah. First, I would like to say that anybody coming to GPHC, we cannot refuse you care. But I know that some persons also aren't aware that those health centers in their where they live, in their immediate community, are there to provide certain services. GPHC is a referral hospital. But if you come to us, we are here for you. We will provide you with the service. Also, if there is any fears about COVID-19, it is very important that persons understand practice good hygiene practices. For this period, maintaining the social distance. There are some specific guidelines out there. We are supposed to be only opening essential services and so on. The curfew is at 6 o'clock. Just adhere to the guidelines and try and keep yourself and your family as safe as possible.
I thank you very much for that. Yog, any other questions, Leslyn?
No. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much there. That's Leslyn Hall, the GPHC's Quality Assurance Manager, sharing with you some tips, but not only that, telling us what GPHC is doing to improve its services, improve its standards when it comes to quality healthcare in Guyana. Very good topic to discuss. These are mature topics, intelligent topics that we as a people would have to continue discussing if we want to take our selves, our quality of lives to a different level. So thank you very much, dear Leslyn Holder. Have a pleasant rest of the day. And hello to the people at GPHC from Kaicho Radio, myself, Leonard Gildarie, and Dr. Yog Mahadeo.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Yog, and so while we say goodbye dear to Leslyn, it's very, very important what Leslyn would have said. Many persons, including myself in the past, have our deep suspicions about the health centers that is within our area. You say, man, let's go to the Georgetown Public Hospital because they're the big one. But there's the regional hospital, the West Dem Hospital. We have them in Berbice as well, all around the place, health centers. And so there's some basic services that they could offer if you want to go test your pressure and whatever else, it is there. So let us remind you, so don't go till to Georgetown. You don't want to crowd out the place. So right next to you is a health center. And if you happen to have an issue with that health center, the Ministry of Health is going to be there to take some complaints. So we got to raise this. This is all in the interest of raising our bar when it comes to services in Guyana. Yog, very quickly before we go to those lines, anything that you want to address?
Not really. I mean, invariably, we have to remind everyone to stay safe and observe the protocols with regards to COVID-19. The numbers are going up. Good news is I was able to confirm that PAHO WHO was able to get about approximately 4,000 test kits available to Guyana. So we should see the number of tests go up, which will give us a nice baseline upon which to make assessments whether our numbers are going up or whether we're flatlining. Back to your point that is extremely important with regards to education, Leonard, I still believe that I cannot believe in this. I still think that it is unbelievable that in this age, in this modern age and time, that Guyana's Ministry of Education and people there cannot be more available to the public to tell people what is going on. I mean, we know CSEC and CAPE exams timetables are out. We know the children have to go write their exams 4th of August, 13th of July to 4th of August, and 13th of July to 31st of July, respectively. We also know that there will be an amendment coming out today, I think, of the COVID guidelines that will allow these examinations to be written. It would be interesting to see how the public transportation and all of those things are going to be able to manage the exam period. But Leonard, the truth is that you're looking at an elections period, which would be, in a week's time or 2 weeks' time is going to be over. A couple of weeks after that, examination start for our children. Now, what we are not seeing the guidelines. We are not seeing, you're hearing these things that education materials are available. I don't believe that the education ministry has done enough education of the population in terms of telling them where, how, what to do. In addition, it's almost a crying shame that, nothing is being done to address, Leonard, the children who have to write these exams in Guyana. Not all of them are healthy, Not all of them can wear a mask and turn up into a classroom to write an exam. Not the children, some of them have various problems, and we need to put guidelines in place where children with problems, their parents could call and be guided as to what to do. We can't throw out a cast net and think we're going to attract and catch everything. So it's mind-boggling that these strategies, simple strategies, are not being thought out, and you're waiting for bottom-up approach. The problems must raise rather than you think about solutions for everything.
Absolutely, and so I think people would be very interested to see how they put those students to sit. Of course, the transportation, whether they're going to require them. But I think aside from all of that, I want to make 2 points, Yog. Are the students, do you believe that the students of Guyana, with all this political going and coming, with the COVID-19, although they would have been at home, are we ready to write exams at this point in time?
Absolutely not. Look, COVID-19 affects every country. So if the students in Antigua and Jamaica and Barbados and Trinidad would be affected, so would ours. So equally across all the country, that cancels out. In terms of the politics, and in terms of Guyanese parents not getting any assistance to help their children, financial and other assistance to help their families, we are way down compared to many, many countries. Many countries would have given assistance to the families, given assistance to people. Other countries, of course, their level of internet access is far superior to Guyana, and so people are taking an online exam. In Guyana, it will have to be paper-based. Who should bear the shame for that?
Well, I don't know what I could say to you except that we have NCN, we have the state-owned Chronicle, we have the radio.
And you have the Department of Political Information.
Man, you always trying to set me up, and I'm not going to take setup today. But no, we're so right. We have resources. I would have thought that the state-owned television like NCN and Imran Khan and the rest of them could be sitting and listening. Ministry of Education, and I have some good friends there. If you're listening, Bruchelle, Blackman, and Mortland, and the rest of you guys, it's not too late now. I don't believe. I believe in my heart that the students are now ready to write us there. There's too much of stress on our people. I'm not sure with everything that's happened with COVID, you're telling everybody to stay away, whether it's a good idea. I think we should have a discussion on that. We're going to go very short within minutes to the phone line 226-7453, 226-7453 here on Kaicho Radio. And of course, if you want to send us any texts, the WhatsApp number is 6222222. Yog, in a very short while, I think there's a call there. Already there's a caller there. Yes. Good afternoon, caller. You on the air?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Since last Friday, I'm trying
Speak up a little louder, please. We barely hear you.
Since last Friday, I'm trying to get onto this program because I heard a gentleman came on and said that there is, as far as he's concerned, that East Indian people don't want no other person to lead them. But it's vice versa, because I went somewhere and I heard a few Negro people were standing and they were saying, and I'm relating exactly what they were saying.
No, ma'am. I think we got to be very careful, at least on the air. There's some things, I guess we'd have to make a policy on this. Any ideas as to whether we deal with conversations like these?
Yeah, you can say you heard. Don't identify who or where you heard. If you have a problem that is police related, ma'am, it should be taken to the police. But you cannot castigate. Don't come over in any way that is attacking a race or attacking any person.
Let me be very careful in the tone of our language, and so go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, well, that is what I'm saying. They were just saying that they prefer to go with their same nationality because they rather die with them. That is one. Two, when I went to vote on March 2nd, myself and my daughter, I saw these three persons there. Now, this man was pushing a woman in a wheelchair, and then they had another man. The man, he went in first, he voted, then he picked the woman and he voted her. This was the other guy going in after, and he claimed that he is not seeing the symbols properly. So, next thing, a Negro guy there was working in the place. He said, "Do you need help?" And the guy said yes, and he went in and helped him. Now, how do I know who he voted for? Three, when they were going around before election day, they had these persons coming around asking you if your name is on the list. Now, they came around here, some was wearing like afternoon jerseys, and so when they asked us, we said we didn't check us yet. So they asked our name and then the check. When they checked, they bring up my brother's name, or my brother's name that died 10 years ago. So I said, how is his name still on this list? She said, okay, we'll have to take it off. Before the election day, they came back again. I said, we already spoke to some. They said, okay, this is the final checking. They bring up my brother's name again. I said, I thought they said they were to take this off. This is 10 years ago. He died. So how do I know who votes for who?
Good question. That's it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Yog, interesting things. Let me say a couple of things before maybe you would want to come in. We would have been talking about our list and the need to sanitize it and sanitize it properly because it's a well-known fact. It's an established fact now that the list that we had for elections, it is very bloated. It had names of dead people on it, and that they were moving to do that because of the elections and because of time it would have taken to actually do a house registration. It was brought to an end early by Justice Madam Chair Claudette Singh of the GCOM. And the reason for that, had they gone on the projections, it would have taken 7 months and we would not have had elections on March the 2nd. And so you would see these problems coming up as to whether that person voted or not. I'm not sure, but the concerns are very much live there with the bloated list. The second thing is, we got to be very careful, and I want to breed some positiveness into our conversation that we have here at Kaicho News, at Kaicho Radio, with myself and Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been asking our people, we've been encouraging our people, we've been cajoling them and telling them, let us do things differently. Let us speak, discuss mature matters, things that would develop us, that is going to breathe life into this country, that is going to take the cloud of negativity from what we've seen overshadowing us right now. And it's overshadowing us not only because of elections, but COVID. People are very depressed. So, let us lift this conversation up. Let's not have the conversation of us and them. Let us not talk about who, because my grandfather voted. Yes, it is your right, but we should, let's uplift ourselves. Yog?
I would say, look, all sides, let's just say both sides in this political divide has people who are voting because they feel more secure in voting in a particular manner. They feel more secure voting in a particular manner that depicts racial thinking.
Yes.
Now, we got to be careful. There is a difference between racial thinking and racism, right? Also, one can look at it this way. If Mr. Schumann has campaigned very hard to get the indigenous people's votes, does that make his party a party that is race-based? We got to look at things from a perspective that is different. And so both sides, I've seen social media inundated with some fools who are attacking people because of their race. And I call them fools, and that is probably not adequate enough. But as you would know, Leonard, that's probably one of the strongest words I use. But however, we gotta be open. People have a right to vote along whichever way they want. We can appeal to people to vote their conscience. We can appeal to people to vote logically, but it's people's right to vote however they want. And this is the problem, that the elections are supposed to respect whatever the electorate wanted. Regardless of how they voted, they voted. And you have to respect their vote. Because in 2015, Leonard, it is the same block of persons from whatever race grouping that swung over to give APNU AFC a win over a PPP. Now that was a, call it how it is. It was a majority yesterday. We had two Indo-Guyanese calling into the program to say they voted APNU AFC. So people have moved. A lot of people have happily moved beyond the race-based voting. But the end result is it has to be respected. With regards to the dead voting, the question is not whether somebody who is on the list has died or not. Because I tell you what, from the day people die every day and people are born every day. So from the day the elections were announced and the lists were finalized, people continue to die. So you would find that on election day, there would be people on the list that are not alive. There would be people on the list that flew out of the country. The issue is whether there was fraudulent vote, whether there was impersonation, whether somebody voted multiple times. And that is the question that we have to assess. And if there is evidence that people voted multiple times, then those who voted multiple times, they will face the full force of the law and they must be locked up. They must have no mercy in front of the courts because we cannot have these things happen. But again, it has to be proven. So far, we are seeing lists of names, but the police commissioner, if he can assert that Madam or Mr. So-and-so should not have been in this country, go find them wherever they are and lock them up.
Absolutely.
Let us get some proof.
Absolutely there, Yog. Elections, COVID Watson 19 on Kaicho Radio 99.1, 99.5. You can get us on Kaicho Radio on Facebook as well as YouTube. And go to Kaicho News Online and you could also get us there. There's another caller online.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
I've been listening to your programs for the past few months and I've been enjoying it quite a while. I would like to say, in history, you guys as gentlemen will be going down as fight for democracy for our country. And I tell you, Kaicho News has been doing a wonderful job for the people of Guyana. I think after this, you guys need to have a gold medal for what you guys have been doing. Bring a fair, a balanced news to the Guyanese society, despite whatever political party you belong to. What I would like to contribute here this afternoon, on a religious point of view, I'm a religious leader, and I've been looking and I've been listening to some of the statements coming from callers and what they have been saying for the past week. What I've analyzed is that many of us as Guyanese, we still don't really truly follow our religious belief, our religious books, what our religious books are telling us. When I analyze the picture, is that, okay, if APNU AFC wins the election, as Afro-Guyanese, I will receive the benefit. On the other side, if PPPC won the election, then I'm an Indian, I will receive the benefit. We as Guyanese, based on our religious books, we are not holding whoever is the leader of our country responsible for resources of our country. Rather, we are allowing ourselves by political leaders to take ourselves in fully total control, and that is the consequence of what is happening in our country today as a people. The political leaders are control of the people. It's not the people are in control of the political leaders. We are taking sides. For example, the election is very clear who won the election and who have lost the election. in my religious belief, and all of us religious belief tell us what is fair and what is balance, what is justice. I think every single one of us should accept if the PPP won the election, fine, PPP go into government. We need to have a strong opposition that will hold the leaders of the PPP accountable for our resources in our country. We are the people, and we should be served according to what we have in our country. If they fail, then as a people, we have the power to remove them. And this is where we as Guyanese need to look at the issues affecting us and where political leaders are using us, sorry to say, as political dogs in our country. If we don't rise up from this, go back to our religious belief or books, I can't see I'm a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu, and I'm seeing a man who is doing something wrong, and I'm going to go to church, I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to accept that is wrong. What is wrong should be wrong. What is right should be right. And that is what we need in our country. Our people need to come together and hold our political leaders accountable. Whatever is in Guyana is for all of us, and we should be benefit, not political leaders. And so Guyanese people need to wake up. This is not about who we are voting for. The last election, I'll be honest with you, we voted for the coalition, looking for a better government. And then we in our thought, they did a good job. But in my opinion, they have lost. And we need, as a religious leader, to accept that, yes, they have lost. We need to come back again and be a strong opposition, hold the government accountable for a resource. And that is what we need to do as people. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much there. And Yog, our people are speaking, and let me say it. We've said it over and over before, and I will say it again, and Yog will have his own words to say too. When it comes to the government and public servants, they're there for one reason and one reason only, to serve the people, to make policies, to represent them. We're not going to be sitting in the Ministry of the Presidency or the Parliament buildings in the National Assembly in the hallowed chambers there to make the decisions. We want policies that are going to be made that has to do with transportation, that has to do with our oil revenues, that has to do with the protection of children, and we could go on and on. How do we deal with criminals? How do we deal with reforming prisoners? These are what our representatives are supposed to do, not to go in there and believe that they could usurp the functioning of the PSs, the permanent secretaries, or the regional executive officers who are the accounting officers within the ministries and the RDCs and so on. That's not their job. Their job is to represent the people, ensure that if there's an on-level playing field, that it's bumpy, that they make it smooth. So we have to understand that the power is on our hand. The ultimate power, the people are going to tell us, is going to be our vote that comes every 5 years. And if we understand that, and if we understand that we could tell our leaders that, then we are going to be powered. And you're talking about powered. I hope that you're empowered today too.
Well, Leonard, the caller is spot on with his points. And a couple of things I wish to refer to. You and I have said it, and the gentleman captured it rightly. If Guyana does not have a responsible opposition, it means we have a dictatorship. Having a good government is as equally a good thing as having a good opposition to keep the government on its toes. To take this forward, I wish to refer to one of our friends, Roy Kingston. Roy has said that this program does not deal with PPP corruption. And that people ignore the PPP corruption and they vote race. And how can we defend that? Roy, it is not the PPP that was in office for the past 5 years. When the PPP was in office, we give them blows. You go back to pre-2015, you check Yog Mahadeo social media, you check Kaichur News. You see what exposure we did for the PPP. And Roy, to that point, we're going to have Ruel Johnson in the hot seat on Thursday night in room 592 to talk about that and to talk about the moral ground. But you cannot have a set of people who criticize the PPP for being corrupt come and do the same thing. You criticize FIP Motilal, you come and you build Durban Park. Where is all the money? You criticize textbook printing, you come and you print yourself. All of the things. It's like as if you're saying that their corruption was worse than yours. Corruption is corruption. Now, people have a right to vote. If people vote for PPP, it's not, I wish to say this very publicly and very openly, Leonard. I don't believe the PPP won these elections as much as I believe APNU has lost these elections. In 2015, the PPP didn't lose. It was APNU that won the confidence of people. You got to look at this in a different way. You can't look at it being support-based. You got to look that the loser has lost the confidence of the people. Unless you guys are ready to accept that, you will always be crying. The other point I want to raise, and this goes back to the gentleman's excellent point about having a good opposition. Leonard, next 2 months, when you have a parliament, when you have the National Assembly meeting, if, and I'm just saying hypothetically.
Yes, I was about to ask you that.
Hypothetically, if a person on the PPP bench was known to have questionable past, and he stands up and he raises something, and the opposition wants to heckle him, what moral ground they have to heckle him after this fraud of the past 88, 89 days? What moral ground they have to heckle him after Durban Park? And the list goes on. I mean, we could list all of the corruption that happened over the past 5 years. And the president has been very silent. When Donald Ramatar, I remember me, Yog Mahadeo, I attacked Donald Ramatar openly. And I said, Mr. President, your government is corrupt. And when he said to me, show me the evidence, I laughed aloud and I walked away from him. Today, I have seen Granger do the same thing. Regardless of all the evidence, as we say in Guyana, joking him in the eye, he refused to act. Refused to act. You know, one can only, and this is why I stand opposed to shared governance. Because if 5 thieves from one side and 5 thieves from the other side form the government, God help us all. But so far, the top politicians in this country have not induced morality, have not inspired confidence in the people. We are basically voting one set out, not necessarily voting another set in.
40, 10 and 10 and 5 and 5 is equal to 40. Let's go straight to the phone lines. Good afternoon, caller, you're in the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Gildarie. Good afternoon, Dr. Yoka. Yeah,
good afternoon, sir. Could you speak up a little, please?
Yes, first of all, I would like to say I am very much thankful that this recount have reached to this level so far, because I think earlier in May, I think Mr. Yo put something on his Facebook wall about what the confidence of view of this recount gonna actually be completed. So at the end of it, I hope he could give us what was so many percentage, and how the people react towards that. But I was of the view that we wouldn't reach this far. So I'm very thankful we reached this far. But my concern is, I'd like to know what is your guys' view on when we bring in all this curfew for this COVID-19, when we bring all these lockdown measures and these dates and so on. We usually bring it in by month, like we said, okay, to the 3rd of May and now to the April and to June and whatsoever. What I noticed now, they actually bring it to the 17th. The 17th of the June. Now, we already understand, Guyanese understand, the day before we're going to have the election results supposed to be declared by the 16th. So I don't know what are your views on this, if this is another way to open the floodgates for maybe people to take the streets, or because I'm thinking along that line. I cannot see why they end up with a date. Is it so conveniently the day after which we supposed to have the election results? So I would like to hear your views on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I have a view on that. The thing is, it's 2 weeks. It could have been 1 month. It could have been 3 weeks. It so happened to be one day after that. I'm not sure. We're not talking here about a total lockdown. We're just talking an extension of the current ongoing measures that would have been implemented since March. And there was an extension of 1 month. So you have 2 weeks here. people have been looking into it. I don't see anything with it with regards what could you do during an emergency measure that is just partial. You know, the fact is we have COVID-19 measures ongoing right now, and people are living their lives. I see people bringing out their Georgie bundle, as somebody would call it, but it isn't that. Business is going on. Stores are opening, some of them secretly. Night spots are opening, some of them secretly. People are selling the watermelons and the other provision at the corner of the road. So things are happening and are continuing, and I don't read into anything into this with the 16th and the 17th of June, except mere coincidence. Yog?
Yes, and I would say let's wait until this weekend. By this weekend, the recount should be finished. I must say, Leonard, look, let me put it out openly out there. I must say hats off to some political leaders. Some of the political leaders, if the public would have seen, over the past day, 2 days, 3 days, they have been very silent. They're not agitating. They're not creating a panic situation. They're not, I believe that is being very responsible. They have basically said, let's wait and let us see. Whereas some has continued to beat the drums of fraud and dead people voting and all of that. At the end of the day, the die is cast, and the caller is right. In May, I like you, sir, I hope to be proven wrong, and I think I said that in May, that I wish and I hope to be proven wrong. The die is cast. In a week's time, we are going to see where this recount will take us. There are questions. There are still a lot of questions, and we will continue to deliberate on these questions every day in this program and on room 592. Questions about the construct of the gazetted order. So, for example, Lowenfield has to create a report at the end of the recount. The GCOM, according to the words of the order, GCOM will decide whether to consider the report or not. However, notwithstanding all of that, I would say let us let it happen. We have waited so long, everybody in this country, you and I, we have all waited so long. We have a week, 2 weeks maximum to go, 2 weeks more. Know for sure though, Leonard, know for sure that the indelible damage that has been done to the psyche of this nation, of people from all sides of the divide, will last a long, long time. People are not going to forget these 106 days for a lifetime. And the sad thing is that it may be attached to other permutations, which you and I are calling people. Do not, my brothers and sisters, do not hate other people because of their political allegiances and alliances and loyalty. People, when you're loyal, and this is the point I want to make here, Leonard, when you're loyal, you forget to think. You become a chorus person. You become a cheerleader. You just listen to your leader and you cheer it on and on and on. And Guyanese, you need to stop being cheerleaders and you need to be outspoken and challenge your own leaders if we want a future for our children. This is an appeal for a future for our children, Leonard.
Absolutely, Yog. And you only have to look towards what is happening in the US at the moment, a divided country, heavily divided, while the political leaders, including Donald Trump, standing by, coming under so much criticism, and there's an absence of leadership there. Everybody's tugging in a different direction, and guess what? The country is burning, literally burning. And that is something, I've seen some tears in people's eyes, crying. They would have never thought that America, the great superpower, would have descended into something like this. So we only have to look at that and then try to think about it. God forbids that something like that happens in Guyana. How are we going to deal with it? And Yog is so very right. We have been deeply hurt, deeply pained, deeply scarred by the politicians of this country. And it's going to take a long, long time before trust is going to be there for leadership again. And that goes for all sides of the divide. There's another caller online. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Gildarie.
Good afternoon. Could you lower your radio, please, because we're getting a feedback.
You still getting the feedback?
Yes, just lower it down completely. Take it off the radio. Thank you very much. Yes, good afternoon, sir. Go ahead.
No, I was listening the other night.
We still not hear you. Could you speak up a little?
You hear me clear now?
No, we're still getting you very far. I'm not sure what's happening.
Well, look, I'm not trying back on that.
Yeah, better. That's better.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Just speak up.
Okay. I was listening to the program the other night. Then the fellow speak about the same way the winner take all around the Caribbean. But let me tell you what's going on here. This government that we deal with is a premature government. And why is it a premature government? The people that sitting in government is a pack of vulture. But they knew since before, just after confidence motion in the local government election, which distinctionally show how they stand. They knew that they neglected the people and when they own leave. But let me tell you something. This life is a cycle. And if anybody was to swing this country into a beautiful paradise with Jagyo, what's playing out here is exactly...
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
The nation needs sensitizing which way to go. But it's a cycle. But it's a pack of vultures that sit in that cares nothing about it.
Yes. So that's it? I think we would have lost that call there. Very good pointer by the caller there. Thank you for joining us. And of course, I want to say hello to whoever's joined us from overseas. Good day to you. I hope that you're finding it a little better and that you have the strength to carry on. Know that we have our challenges at the moment. We go to the next caller there. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks for that. I was trying to get on to you very long. The days I get on. Thank God to get you. I have a few problems. Not really a problem. That's a few things to say. I think that with this election thing here that's going on, I think I got one opposition, one political party. I've listened to all the programs. I've listened to you programs. I've listened to all the programs. And I think that a political party I see can cause a problem in this country. Now I can tell you why. Now every day that I listen to that program, I'm written from sincere, yes, I don't stop listening to it. Because when I listen to it, and I hear the things that they put out, I see they're causing a problem. Now the first thing they said is that 100 and something ballots missing. There's one. Two, they said 29 ballots hasn't stamped with the stamp district. This is stamped in Linden. There's a cause of problem. There's a stronghold. So it can cause a problem. Three, they said the disciplinary forces, the ballot and stamp. Well, I as an ex-military man, I know about the soldiers now, but I know but me soldiers at the time. It's different now. Fourthly, the guy from Kaito News, the reporter is a young reporter. And he's doing research, and what he doing research, you see, he's right. He was bombarded by senior journalists. They got the program, it's company, ear name, Harris Knows Book. If they listen this morning, how they bombard that youngster, it's very, very bad. It's very, very bad. The bombard, they got this, the APN, you got a station, they've got at the convention today. They got the bombard, tell the guy he tear up the paper. And he talking, but Mr. Look, let me go back there. Anyway, that was very bad. If they can't stop it, sir, I'm telling you, I may be wrong, but I don't like it to happen. I see they're going to cause a problem. They is going to cause a problem when we come into the last day of this vote, of this, and then they got to give the decision. I don't see a problem. I haven't seen a problem. They might tell me that it's a back. Because out there going on, every day is something new. Every day is something new. Now, I was listening to a thing with Mr. Norton. Then the reporter asked me, if this thing only happening in the PPP strongholds. No, he said yes. He said yes. It's happening nowhere else. Only in the PPP stronghold, you find him dead and coming back. And I think the commissioner of police, I think what he's done, I don't like it. I don't like what he has done. Whether he's singing for his super of this scarlet, he should be more, as an educated person, he should be more polite, more than putting a statement out which I know that he don't have no evidence to prove, but just that he just look. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, caller. And let me address a couple of things. And every day it seems as if we are addressing it. There have been increasing calls to boycott Kaiser News, and you could go ahead and do that. I think Mr. Lal is going to address that sometime or the other. We should not. Yog, we have done our duty when it came to 2015. We're doing our duty when it comes to 2020. The ones who are calling for a boycott, we know who they are. I'm not sure why you would want to do that. 80% of our staff are not Indians, and you could read clearly behind. I'm probably the only Indo-Guyanese. My grandfather was Chinese. My great-grandfather was African. My son is 18 years old. He's Afro-Guyanese. So we could go on and on. We could discuss that. But guess what? We're going to continue our job here at Kaicho News, Kaicho Radio, and there is not going to be an introduction of any racism here. With regard to the gentleman talking about possible trouble, let me say that the people of Guyana is becoming highly intolerant. They want to get on with their lives, and they're not going to tolerate that. So we could talk about it and think about it, and we have our fear. We're not going to be fearful. Lord, the good being up there directs.
But Leonard, if I may, look, it's people's right to want to read a particular newspaper or not. That's your right. If you want to boycott a newspaper, I mean, that sounds harsh coming from me because okay. I am not an employee of Kaicho News. I'm just very, very, very independent. So, I mean, Kaicho News might be happy me saying this, but I believe it is everybody's right to pick up which newspaper you want. But at the same time, excuse me, is it coincidence? Is it coincidence that Kaicho News, Starbuck News, all the newspapers except the RAG, all of the newspapers in this country except the RAG, they're all bad and they all should be boycotted? Is it coincidence that in 2013, 2014, all of the newspapers was bad except the RAG? So it's obvious that there is political gamesmanship at play. But I want to say something to the ex-soldiers. Sir, thank you for calling. I want to say something to our Guyanese people. These 90 days, these last 10 years of governance in Guyana, and especially these last 90 days has shown you the difference between an educated politician and an opportunistic creature of politics.
Thank you for that, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. We go straight into another call right now. Yes, good afternoon, caller. You on the air?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but what I know, since the inception of this election and the results start coming out, the recount and so on, we are not hearing from the chairman, we are not hearing from the CEO. We are hearing from I think it's the PRO, Yolanda Ward. Now, I don't know if you guys see this briefing. It's like 2 days ago this woman come out. And I don't know what this woman actually know, because the only thing you could hear is, I am not aware of it. I don't have the figures. I'm going to have to get back to you. So if the media people ask 40 questions, if 38 of the question, there is the kind of answer you're getting. And we deserve better than this. We're not getting answer. I am hoping that this is the first or maybe the last an election must go down this road that happened here. And this election seems like it's so much secrecy to this election. So I don't know. We really need to up the standard there, because we cannot have the PRO coming out and she doesn't know nothing. She cannot answer no question. My second and my final point is that I've noticed Mr. Duncan, Sherrod Duncan, his post on his wall, which I feel I cannot call on these guys to be responsible because I ain't seen nothing from the Apple side being responsible for over the past couple of months. And if he to actually post something like that on his wall, I think it's very irresponsible. He should take it down, and he should either face some kind of thing for this thing because you cannot ask the guy and he's what they think about Black Lives Matter locally. I don't think we need this at that time, and we never need something like this here. So I think that should be condemned. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, thank you for that, caller. I did not see what Sherrod would have posted. I'm not sure in what capacity he would have posted, so I can't even comment on that. But obviously, I would just re-echo what I would have been saying and what Dr. Yog Mahadeo would have been saying over the last couple of weeks, is that our advice to the people of Guyana is that you have to know that you are in control, that you are the persons who are empowered. We have just casted our ballot on March 2nd, and there's a reason for that. We wanted to express our will. Our will has not been delivered. With regards to spending taxpayers' money and the company and our entities that we have out there, we got to understand something very, very clear. This is not the government of Guyana, the authorities, the state-owned places where you put taxpayers' dollars into. They're not a big corporation abroad which has PROs, public relations officers, who are there to deflect and reduce the impact of bad publicity at all. The people have a right to know. We're employing you to tell us. And so when you see this attitude, you're quite right. This is something that should stop right now, right here, and we should never ever have a replay of this. Not for another election, not for another year, not for another month. These people got to understand. It's just like you withholding the statement of polls. GCOM, a creature of the people, I won't even say a creature of government, I would say a creature of the people, decided of their own to not release the statement of polls. And we had to wait until a recount so that we could be able to see what really transpired at the polls. So when they decided of their own, it's an entity that is located somewhere in Alaska that is run by some multinationals that has nothing to do with Guyana. That is what they're saying to the people. Over to you, Yog.
Well, the caller is right. I mean, look, caller, with regards to the postings that people make on Facebook, I mean, everybody has their own space. I mean, I make posts on Facebook. A lot of people don't like it, and a lot of people come and they beat up each other because they feel that I am biased one way or the other. It is a life we live, and I always encourage everybody that if you have a problem with a post, report it to Facebook. If you think the post is inciting, you should report it to the ethnic relations committee and things like that. But however, I laughingly say this, you usually test the mettle of a post by seeing how many people pay heed to it. So it's a dangerous time we are living in, though, sir. So thank you for your observation.
Yes, and I thank you for that. So there's another caller online. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air. Caller, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. You're on air. Go ahead.
I congratulate you fellas for the job you're doing. And what Mr. Glenn should do with you fellas is that put you to always auto sale and choose what you want after this program. Yeah.
That's a funny one.
Yeah. Hello?
No. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Let you fellas choose what you want. And the entire team, Joshua Van Slyton and
Kevin Smith.
Huh?
Kevin too.
Yeah, Kevin too. The whole entire team. And
yes, go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Claudette Singh, coming to Claudette Singh. They concerning, she said she was threatened before the recount started. But then she said she under the blood of Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we all under the blood of Jesus. So then the virus, the coronavirus, now we all of us wearing masks. Now I got a big man friend, a cousin, he said he don't like Christian people. If you're Muslim and you're Hindu, I like you. Right? Because Christian people are all a little bit some messed up, which I in the Christian faith too. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So now if we under the blood of Jesus and the blood of Jesus protect us, well then, why we wearing masks?
Yes, go ahead.
Now, the scripture said, Philippians 4 verse 8, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true and is just pure lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and any praise, well then think on these things. When last you and I, and all of us, say something good or do something good or talk the truth? John 13:16, if you know these things, how happy are you? And if you do them, how blessed are you? Now, going back to Mr. John Smith, head of the assemblies. Before election, it was his birthday. So then you know what he did? He invited President Granger. Why don't you talking about peace and let good sense prevail? No, you should invite the opposition and put them at the table and let us sit down and talk. We are talking about peace, and that is the head of the assemblies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, I don't know, now, I think it was last week some fella called and said about the Koli people doesn't want a black president.
No, so let's don't go down the road.
No, well, this kind of thing, you just spreading disease, man. You're spreading disease. Now, we are grown people. Let's try to quiet this thing down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last week I passed in front of Fagatis. There was a Spanish lady, grown woman, a fella asking her, what about the races? The lady said the people had voted. He asked the lady again. The lady said the people had voted. He asked the lady again. The lady said the people had voted. The lady didn't answer him because whatever you have in your heart, that's what you're going to bring out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The program is so interested and people fall in love with the program. And may God bless you fellas. Continue to a good job. And bless you with good health and strength, good blood circulation, that you could move on with this program. So I hope Mr. Glenal listening that when this program is over, let him take you fellas to the auto sale, all of you, Kevin Smith and whatever, and let this fella choose whatever they want on his pocket.
Yes, I thank you very much for that, caller, and do have a pleasant rest of the day.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Kevin right now, Yog, what kind of car he would want.
Don't
do that.
Don't put Kevin on the spot. I want to say, when I started with you here, Leonard, this is third month now, and when I met Mr. Glenlal and proposed the idea of Room 592 using his platform, ladies and gentlemen, our only aim here is to ensure we contribute to a society, the creation of a society that is open, where we can do things without a material aim, where we can do things for the betterment of our children and our families. Call it fairy tale, some people do. But for me, all I'm interested in is that whoever gets into government within the next month, we must be agitating every day. Any act of corruption, we must speak out. Anything that they do, do not allow them. Do not ever allow one group of politicians to get a good life while the rest of us has to grovel in the dirt. So for me, I would tell Mr. Lau, if you want to donate something, sir, let us donate and form a political movement in this country that is very, very independent. I'll tell you why I say so, Leonard. Just one moment of your time, I'll say this. You look at the AFC. The AFC failure is that they're a group of politicians with one history. One history. They hate the PPP. They came out from the PPP, Moses Nagamutu et al., and they hate the PPP. So they will do anything to ensure the PPP does not get into office. APNU, the coalition, most of the parties, political parties, except for this current crop, except for TCI and some of these new people, right? They all created previous years. They created parties because they couldn't get along with PNC or they couldn't get along with PPP. So it was a poisonous start. A poisonous start cannot lead to any good living. It's always going to be doomed. What we want is open politicians that don't care. I don't care who is the president. If you do wrong, we will call you out for it. We cannot have this instance. Leonard, you and I have had personal grievances. We were cursed and threatened by previous presidents. Did it stop us from attacking them? No. We were threatened. I have received more than 70 threats currently over these past 80 days. Did I bother go report it to police? No, that's what people do when they're angry. Would it stop us? Absolutely not. We got to continue marching this country forward. And people have to realize it's not the politicians must run this country, it's the people must run this country.
Manos, I barely get enough time to bathe in the night when I go home. Just count the number of threats. No, but it comes par for the course. It comes with this territory. I'm not too bothered with that, and you're right. I want to back you up on this. Whichever government comes into play, they're not going to get an easy ride. The honeymoon is going to be over with pretty quickly. The people expect you to do your job and do it for all Guyana, not for one political party, not for coalition, not for anybody, not for yourself, but for all Guyana. Let us stress that. There's a caller in line. There's no caller in line, but if you want to join us, Yogi were talking about what has been going on in this program. We've been so busy trying to reach the people across in Guyana that we haven't even asked for any sponsorship of this program here, but that's a conversation for another one. There's a caller online. Caller, good afternoon, you're on the air.
Yeah, it's Gildarie?
Yes, it is. You're on air with Dr. Yog Mahadeo.
Here, I'm trying to get you since about a week ago, concerning incidents where calling payment at time. The presidential candidate for the PVP and an individual went to court the same day. One had 3 charges, the other had 19. One got bail. But you as a reporter, you should have mentioned because the man got 2 cars and a house, he entitled to bail, and the other man, if he got address. The court today more or less is like it's like the Roman Catholic Church. It won't just by sin, you understand? The rich write the rules. They just try to tell you, well, listen, you poor, you the bottom dweller, we gonna put you in a corner. And these things must now, you as a reporter now, you must look to deal with equal rights for all, special privileges for none.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
We mustn't look at because a man got $20 million, because I can tell you something. All they say lead to 4 is the majority and not 3. Because if Bill Gates come together and he got investment, and he mentioned that B is the 4th letter of the alphabet, they got thousands of people going to follow. So we must stand for, we must choose the right because it is right and leave consequences with God.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
The Roman Catholic, you see happened yesterday with the man that killed the carpenter. They got people in prison. Look the individual a couple years ago we issued that selling coconut. So what a coconut. A man just come to the imports, go now, he finished drinking the water, he go and kill a Brazilian. The police snatch him and put him in jail. He spent 5 years in prison. So when you look at Bisram, this whole thing is the rich write the rules. We got to move away from that. You look at Patterson brother, he get hold with drugs. The police never open the gate. You understand what I'm saying? But Lovell is the owner. He's just an accused. He was never caught with drugs in his suitcase, personally, in his body personally, strapped his body or in his suitcase. You understand? Mm-hmm. And they run into the map, they kick down the map door in Meadowbrook, they run into the map bank account. And the media houses, people who join in this country, they slack because nobody keep pressing this issue. These things we got to talk about. Mm-hmm. Just because the brothers are minister.
All right. So
an accused is always innocent until proven guilty. Absolutely. And this is something the coalition government is supposed to stand up for the people. The courts must not look because a man in drugs. I dealing with truth and right. I don't want anybody box because democracy is not perfect.
That's correct.
You understand? It is not perfect. Equal rights for all, special privileges for none is perfect. But the courts don't want that because it always keep saying that these things could fall back when we children or we close relatives or whatever, and we got to stand. So we just look like bob and weave.
Okay.
So you as a reporter, don't get on the line because if a man go to court with 3 charges and a man go with 19 and the magistrate could send away the man at 19 with on his own reconnaissance, he's supposed to be fair enough to say, well, listen, you are going to put you on $20,000. Even though the man people on the pay for the cardboard, the magistrate duty is to follow the law. The police, if you fail to go to court, they could confiscate your money and they could also jail you behind your back, and the police uses to fine you. People get away from prison, the police is fine you.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
you see?
Yes.
So I don't agree with you when you tell the caller that because a man got 2 cars in a house, he's entitled to bail. It's totally wrong.
Well, I thank you very much for that. I address it off.
The whole judicial system, whether it's sports or politics, this region don't have leaders. And the whole judicial system, I can tell you straight from heart, it's like the Roman Catholic Church. It's wounded by sin. You see?
Thank you, sir.
Things that happen in America, what happen in Hong Kong and these places, they're happening here soon. They can start happening.
No. I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
Thank
All
you.
right, good. All right, good.
Yes. Let me just address it quickly because our time is winding down, and Yog would have to tell you what is going to happen in room 592 in a very short while. We want to take a couple of calls. But I was taught when covering court that, and Yog, you have some legal background as well. When you're in court and sometimes you see what a gentleman, it's a very good point. And I was always told that bail is not or should not be punitive in its very appearance. And so if somebody comes and Yog is living right next door and everybody knows where he is at, and somebody who they don't know that maybe is a flight risk, different courts, depending on the magistrate, would use their discretion as to the issue of bail. But maybe you would want to plunge in there quickly, Yoga, and maybe address that issue there, how it should be handled.
Yes, you are right. You are right, Leonard. The gentleman is also right. He has a point. The laws really need the law.
Yes.
One of the good things with law, sir, is that law is not stagnant. It continues to evolve with each passing day. And so magistrates and judges and so forth, those learned people that practice in the courtroom, they one of the things they do is to let the law is a living entity. They let it live and continue to live by, recommending improvements to it all the time. Now, with regards to the bail, yes, Leonard is right. If a person is not a flight risk, you would basically rest on the fact that they're available to be picked up at any time or to appear in court at any time, versus a person who is more or less unknown. I want to tease the caller with something. He mentioned that the church and religious leaders and so forth, and he mentioned this thing about money. And I want to say to people, I'm not being prejudicial. I'm not in any way. I'm saying so very, very humbly. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know what God thinks about money, look who He gives it to. Over.
Thank you very much, Yog. This evening, you have Timothy Jonas as well as Lennox Schumann. Fireworks, 2 small parties, 2 big mouths. What are we expected to see?
Oh, we expect some incisive knowledge to be shared as to what will take place over the next 7 to 10 days in Guyana. Both Schumann and Jonas have been very outspoken. They represent a constituency. And in representing that constituency, both gentlemen are extremely educated. I mean, they know their stuff and they're able to talk through the logic. Jonas is going to bring us the logic of what he sees happen. Mr. Jonas feels that GCOM is obliged to walk through the parameters enshrined within the order and has no other ability to do anything else. And so we'll drill him on that. And also Mr. Schumann would have expressed his own concerns about how these votes. And of course, we're going to talk about the exact nature of the fraud that has been perpetrated upon this nation for the past 90 days. I want to bring your attention very, very quickly to, it doesn't stop. The rhetoric continues. Moses Nagamutu has said in an article that the fraud, among the claims of fraud, are ballots cast. And he ensured he used the word claims. He ensured he used the word claims. He's an old politician and maybe old enough to get out of politics now. But he has continued to repeat the claims of fraud. And finally, I want to say to you, Leonard, that Miami Herald, I'm going to share it on our Facebook page. Miami Herald has written a wonderful article on these 90 days and what's happening. Tonight, of course, we're going to have Timothy Jonas and Lennox Schumann. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Roel Johnson. And Friday, to wrap up this week, we're going to have a big participation from a number of persons who will remain unnamed for now. But we're certainly looking ahead for a nice interaction over the next couple of nights.
You're pushing me to raise the bar very quickly on just being a newspaper man to being a radio man now, and I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to continue with this. You're pushing my body's aging, Yog. But it's a good thing for our country. We have to push ourselves to say and do the right things as we wrap up. Unfortunately, we've run out of time to take any more calls. We're going to be back with you tomorrow at 1:30 sharp to bring you elections and COVID-19 watch, to bring you the little updates as to what is happening. We want you to remain safe. We want you to remain very focused. We have a tough couple of days ahead that's going to be there. We have the People's Progressive Party, which has been saying that it has won the election. The coalition is also saying that it has won the election. The recount is going to prove what exactly happened on March the 2nd, and that though that recount is going to be over with as early as maybe this weekend, we understand, we keeping our fingers crossed. And then the GCOM, the commission in itself, is going to be tasked with that unenviable task of looking at what the report of Keith Lowenfield, the chief elections officer, is going to say. So I want to say thank you very much for joining us over the last 1.5 hours. It has always been a pleasure. My body aches, my throat aches, and I'm not sure. Yog seems as if he could go for another 5 hours. I'm not sure how you're doing it, sir. We're going to have a talk off here with that. But thank you for joining us, our people across the country. We're going to be back with you at 7:30 p.m. sharp, room 592, to talk to Lennox Schumann and, of course, Timothy Jonas, two young people in the political field. Young when I mean they're now at entry point. And so that's going to be pretty interesting. So thank you very much for joining us in Elections COVID-19 Watch on Kaicho Radio 99.1, 99.5. Have a pleasant rest of the day. Until then, from Leonard Gildarie and Dr. Yog Mahadeo, do enjoy.